If you liked this video, please give thumbs up. Hit the bell icon to be notified when we come out with new videos. UFO sightings and alien encounters in Wisconsin are so numerous that several towns claim to be the UFO capital. Wisconsin UFOs are described as round, triangle, cube, and cigar with flashing green, bright orange, red, and white lights. 1. Blue UFOs skipping across sky in Wisconsin. Baraboo, an eyewitness reports several UFOs moving across the sky in an odd skipping motion. The UFOs appeared to stone bouncing over the water of a pond or lake. The UFOs appeared as a blue orb that was ejecting something from them that appears to be lighted objects. The eyewitness included 5 photos of the event. May 7, 2022. Full moon UFO in Kaukauna. An eyewitness first thought she was looking at the moon, until realizing the moon was in the south during that time of night. The eyewitness described how 2 other objects were moving around the UFO. In the middle of all this activity, the UFO changed its shape with flickering lights. April 4, 2023. Hovering fireball. A woman in Waukesha saw a pulsating fireball in the northeast traveling east. The object stopped mid-course and hovered for a few minutes, then seemed to disappear. April 4, 2024. Husband and wife witness UFO fleet. March 2020 was a big UFO month with 29 UFO sightings in Wisconsin reported to NUFORC, National UFO Reporting Center. These eyewitness reports depict ordinary people out walking their dogs or engaged in other mundane activities at night when they had a chance UFO sighting. One such incident happened to a husband and wife in Eau Claire. Large UFO fleet maneuvering overhead. The couple witnessed around 30 star-shaped UFOs moving at a fast speed along the same trajectory. The first group of 16 UFOs traveled together as stragglers, either followed the same trajectory or moved in groups. The eyewitnesses described the star-like objects as traveling SW to NE. One pair of UFOs broke off and traveled north to south. Couple trained observers. The man is an ex-Special Forces operator with 16 years of experience. His wife, also ex-military, worked on planes for 10 years and was a nurse studying to be a doctor. Both appear to be trained observers. The man tried to compare the UFOs to the size of nearby stars and noticed the UFOs were traveling in a serpentine pattern. The couple eliminated any known aircraft or satellites. March 26, 2025. Fidget spinner-shaped UFO. A fidget spinner-shaped UFO was reported flying over Rice Lake, traveling south to north. The object had no lights and didn't emit any sound. The eyewitness reported the city lights were reflected underneath the UFO surface as it passed overhead. The object blotted out the stars in its approach. March 26, 2026. 2 UFOs split apart. An eyewitness from Nesada reported 2 bright white lights that were somehow intertwined. The 2 UFOs emitted red, blue, and green lights and then separated into 2 separate spheres. One of the orbs disappeared. The remaining orb sent a light beam up into the air above it. The first orb suddenly appeared some distance above the second orb. The 2 UFOS lights began to blink and lasted over 20 minutes. March 3, 2027. Rash of reports of UFO fleets in 2019-2020. A rash of reports of UFO fleets to the Mutual UFO Network (MUFON) were deemed possible misidentifications. MUFON posted a reminder that the SpaceX Starlink satellites are often misidentified as a UFO fleet. If you witness a fleet of UFOs, you can check the Find Starlink website to verify if and when the satellites are visible in your area. 8. Live TV news captures UFOs. Fox 6 in Milwaukee captured on live TV several mysterious white objects that left trails behind them and appeared to move as though swimming, darting, stopping, and changing directions. The official explanation was a flock of seagulls, although viewers commenting on YouTube didn't seem to buy that explanation. February 27, 2018. 9. White cigar-shaped UFO over Wisconsin. Anonymous report was made to NUFORC from Windsor Lake. The witness saw a white tube or cigar-shaped object floating above I-90. The witness was traveling north and watched the object move slowly from left to right, then took off at a high rate of speed traveling northeast and was quickly out of sight. October 4, 2018. 10. Farm family UFO and alien encounters. Dairy farmer in Clintonville, Wisconsin reported that for the past 11 months, he, his wife, and his son had multiple UFO sightings as well as encounters with extraterrestrials in his home. The UFO shapes ranged from orange egg-shaped, golden triangles, white spheres, and a saucer shape with rainbow-colored lights. July 26, 2018. Aliens traumatize family. The man described a 4-foot-tall humanoid coming into his bedroom, but the man soon blacked out. In the morning, he discovered an inch-long incision in his arm. He discussed how traumatized he and his family were and that they feel unsafe living on the farm. He claimed to have video and photo proof and said his family is willing to take polygraphs. He described electrical surges in his home and poltergeist activity. The farmer stated if the activity continues, his family will be forced to move. July 26, 2018, 11. Silver UFOs in triangle formation in Siren. A witness was traveling east on Highway 70 when 5 shiny objects were seen moving swiftly across the sky. The objects were silver, and the witness stated they were either triangle or diamond-shaped. The objects traveled in a straight line as though they were connected or traveling with an in-flight formation. July 23, 2018, 12. UFOs photographed by professional photographer. UFOSNW describes how a professional photographer was shooting rural landscapes around Fish Creek and captured something unexpected. When the photographer was reviewing the photo of a small rural church, he noticed 4 white objects. He tested to see if these were the result of a lens flare but ruled it out. He showed the photo to other professional photographers, and they agreed it wasn't a lens flare. 2013-13. Rice Lake Teardrop UFO. The Barron County Sheriff Department received reports from Rice Lake of a teardrop-shaped craft with several colors of lights, including a flashing purple light at one end, following vehicles near the Rice Lake Airport. Witnesses reported a red laser-like downward beam emitting from the craft. It appeared the craft landed and took off from the airport, although airport records indicated no known aircraft has landed during those time frames. A couple of officers witnessed strange lights. April 16, 2008, 14. Sledding incident produces photographic evidence. An anonymous UFO report from Weyervega was accompanied by 2 very clear photos of a silver disc with 3 white lights and 1 red. The witness stated, "My boy was sledding in the snow and I was taking pictures. It was getting dark when the boy pointed to the sky and there was a disc that the witness then photographed." 2003-15. Famous Elmwood UFO sightings in Wisconsin. 1970s saw a wave of UFO sightings in Elmwood, Wisconsin, that continue to this day. In the 1980s, the sightings were so numerous it was proposed the town build a UFO landing strip as a tourist attraction. Instead, the town holds an annual UFO Days celebration the last full weekend of July. At 2:30 of this 1987 news report, a white round object hovers over the parade unnoticed by the crowd and reporter. 16. UFO hovering over house joined by second UFO. A Wisconsin couple was awakened by bright lights shining through their bedroom windows around 9 p.m. The wife got up to investigate and saw a white-yellow light that was so bright she couldn't look directly at it. Aliens peer out windows in hovering UFO. The light dimmed, revealing a disc-shaped UFO hovering over the trees about 200 feet from their home. She and her husband watched as a search beam emitted from the UFO and rotated around the ground as though seeking something. When the light turned toward their bedroom window, the couple rushed outside. They were surprised by the lack of sound coming from the object. The couple was able to make out windows positioned around the upper part of the craft. They could distinguish several human-like silhouettes in the windows looking down at them. Another disc object arrived in the sky before both leaving the area. October 16, 1980, 17. Elmwood police officers' UFO encounter. One of the best-known Elmwood UFO sightings occurred in 1976 when police officer George Wheeler, whose credibility was exemplary having been a World War II combat pilot and a 30-year veteran police officer, reported seeing a UFO, large orange glowing orb. He encountered a glowing orange object about 100 feet off the ground. He noticed the object also had 6 blue-white lights. However, perhaps the most startling part of this encounter was what he saw inside the windows of the craft: moving shadows. UFO beam of light hit Officer Wheeler. According to Wheeler, the UFO shot straight up with a whoosh, but a beam of light flashed from the craft and struck him. There were several witnesses to the event, including Paul Frederickson, who lived near the quarry. Another witness, David Moots, came to Wheeler's aid. The squad car lights and radio stopped working, and although the car engine had recently been serviced, the spark plugs had to be replaced after the encounter. Wheeler rushed to hospital. Wheeler was seemingly okay and went home. However, 2 hours later he was suffering from a severe headache and his wife rushed him to the local hospital. Wheeler was hospitalized for 3 days, but doctors were unable to diagnose the cause of his headache. Officer Wheeler had no recollection of his UFO encounter. Unfortunately, his health rapidly declined, and 2 years after his UFO encounter, Officer Wheeler died. 197618. Hobbs-Wilson UFO sighting. Hobbs-Wilson claimed he saw a UFO 6 miles out of town in 1972. He described the craft as being soundless and spanning 18 to 20 feet. He reported that the light of the craft lit up his barnyard. 19. First UFO sightings in La Crosse, Wisconsin. April 10, 1897, the first known UFO sightings in Wisconsin were reported in La Crosse. Several witnesses reported seeing a cigar-shaped object with colored lights. The official explanation for the UFO was a dirigible, also known as an airship. However, during this same time frame, cigar-shaped objects with strange lights were reported throughout the Midwest and all the way to the West Coast. UFO sighting hotspots in Wisconsin towns of Dundee, Long Lake, Campbellsport, and Belleville are just a few townships claiming to be the UFO capital of the world. The Fond du Lac area that's near Long Lake and Dundee is another hotspot for UFOs. Besides strange lights, UFOs, and crop circles, Wisconsin's Bill Benson, owner of Benson's Hideaway Bar, claims to possess an alien body artifact. He displays the odd-looking black-eyed creature in a jar that's preserved in some kind of liquid. UFO sightings across Wisconsin span the years. UFO sightings that are reported across Wisconsin often tell of similar types of UFOs. Some of the UFO reports are difficult to debunk and remain a mystery.